Okay, so I want to say thank you to my patrons for signing up. This was another question that was in the Q&A videos that I'm doing for the Patreon account, and I feel like it also coincides with one of my last videos, which was the SIU Apprenticeship Program versus paying out of pocket. Some people just don't want to go through the program, and some think it'd be easier for them to pay for your basic classes, the basic STCWs, out of pocket through your local maritime college or what have you. And another question that coincides with it is going to a Maritime Academy versus going to the apprenticeship program. Now, this is just my own personal opinion on it, and from what I know, I can't tell you everything about maritime academies because I didn't go to one. I went to the SIU Apprenticeship Program. But from the officers I've met and the people that I've met that have gone through the academies, to me, it's really, for my personal choice and my situation, I would still choose the apprenticeship program over an academy. But it's all in, your guys and gals' personal situations of what you can do and where you're at in life, I guess. Going to a maritime academy, that's going to academy to basically skip the bottom level unlicensed positions, OS, wiper, or AB and oiler, and you're basically you're going to become a third officer, either a third mate or a third assistant engineer. I do believe no matter what, the engine department is always going to take just a little bit longer, but going through an academy, both sides of, hose piping through SIU or going to the academy has its pros and cons. And when you go through an academy, it's just like going through college. You're gonna go in for roughly 4 years, and it's gonna cost as much as going to college costs. From the few third mates that I've talked to and the few third engineers I've talked to that were fresh out of academies, typically the cost for them to go to a maritime academy to become an officer is anywhere from $60,000 to $90,000 for 4 years of school. And in that 4 years of school, you're gonna have your cadet time where you're gonna be a cadet on a ship. Basically, that's gonna be your training ship. And you're gonna go through all the navigation classes or all the engine classes. And then when you become a cadet, you're basically gonna apprentice under other third officers that have already been through the program or been through the academies. And it's a 4-year process to get there. Now, if you look on the other side of the SIU Apprenticeship Program, like for me, it took me 1.5 years casually to get my AB endorsement. Now, from my AB endorsement, I did, how many? 3. So by the time I got my AB endorsement, I already had almost 300 days of C days. Now, some of you have got confused by this already. I've got a few questions about this on how you need 365 C days to get an AB endorsement. But with the SIU Apprenticeship Program, you're not getting that full 365 because you only go out for second phase and fourth phase. But the days in class also count as partial C days, so everything adds up, and that through the program, it certifies you to between experience and C days to get your AB or oiler. Now, back to the point, I casually did 1.5 years in the program, the SIU Apprenticeship Program, and I got my AB. I was roughly around 300 days. Now, I've been sailing for 2 years, and 2 years? 2 years, going on 3 years, and I really haven't pushed at it either. Now, I've only done, like this past year, I only did 7 months, last year, I did 5 months, and I took a 7-month vacation. Now, I could have got another contract in there and gained more sea days, and I'd be farther along, but I haven't. I've been very casual about it. I'm not in a rush. I'm doing this as a career, so it's, if it takes time, it takes time. But I'm roughly around 600 days now, and if you think about it, I should have another 2 or 3 years to go. So with about 2 years of sailing and about another 2 to 3 years of sailing to go, I will then have my days to become, or take the classes to become a third mate. So it can take longer, but I've also known people that have got their AB and they pumped out their sea days, for basically 3 years straight, and then got their third mates. So it's still, in about 5 years, they were able, if you really work at it, in 5 years, going through the SIU Apprenticeship Program, having no life but sailing for 3 or so years, you can become an officer. And that might be, give or take, but give another year longer than going to an academy. But going through the apprenticeship program, you paid nothing. And the apprenticeship program also has a AB to mate program for the deck side. They don't have it for the engine, not yet, from what I believe. But so for me, I'm basically not, I'm $1,700 in from the very beginning, but that included getting my MMC, my TWIC, my medical, and everything. I'm only about, say, around $700-800 in plane tickets. But now, say my $700-800 investment in plane tickets going to the program, that's all it's cost me. And if I would have pushed at it, I could have done it quicker. But in another 2 or 3 years, I could be going for my third mates. Again, through the apprenticeship program, not the apprenticeship, through the SIU, at their AB to mate program for free. So then I become a third mate, and still the only cost I ever had was that original $700-800 in plane tickets from the very beginning of the program. Now, sure, it's taking me a year and a half in the program, 2, 3, maybe about 5, 6 years casually, 6 years casually to be eligible to take my third mate classes. But in all that time, I've been making my money and not having to pay back any kind of student loan debt or any kind of debt for my career. Sure, I've taken on some other debts, but no debt towards getting into my career. So in this casual 6 years, I'll be able to go for my third mate, and I'll have not needed to pay for any of it. Going to an academy, an officer academy, you're gonna do 4 years, you're gonna get $60,000 to $90,000 in debt. Sure, then you become an officer, a third mate or a third engineer, and you're gonna make more than an unlicensed guy like me. But how well are you gonna be able to save your money, to set aside it, and also pay off that $60,000 to $90,000 in student loan debt that you took on to go through that officer academy? So I've paid little to nothing out of pocket and gone 6 years of making money. An officer that went through an academy did 4 years then started making their officer paycheck, say they make it for another 2 years, and now we're both at 6 years. If you're really motivated, sure, an officer, if they still wanted to live at home and be frugal with their money, they could pay back those $60,000 to $90,000 in student loan debt in that first 2 years easy, and still probably set aside some money. But time and time again, how well are we with our money that, there's only very few that can pay off $100,000 in debt in 2 years. Not many people can do that. So with my 6 years to get to third officer, and 6 years of somebody who did 4 years in the academy, 2 years of sailing, they will still be paying on their student loan debts. And for me, that first 6 years, all I did was make money, and I'm still making money from 6 years and on. But now at 6 years, when I've possibly became a third mate, I'm now making that third mate money. So I've saved 6 years of my unlicensed AB money, and now I'm making officer money at 6 years. The officer waited 4 years to make any decent money, made some officer money for 2 years, but really didn't make any money because they're having to pay off all that student loan debt. But, back to the beginning of mattering on your situation, mattering what you have going on. If you know you're good with your money and you can easily set it aside, or you're not ashamed to live at home with your folks and you go through an officer academy and just live at home with them for, a couple years while you pay back your student loans, it could be a good option for you. It could be a good option if your mom or dad was in the military and you got the GI Bill, so your college is basically free. Then yeah, 100%. If you don't have to pay for the college, the officer academy, then go to the officer academy. If your parents are offering to pay it for you and making you a deal where it's like, hey, we'll pay for the first 2 years of your officer academy, but then you have to take care of the other 2, go ahead and do it. Because it's about how much money it's gonna cost in either route to me. And like I said, in my opinion, I took the route of not owing any student loans and having any kind of debt like that, not being in a debt to anybody for learning what I had to learn to get into this career. I chose that route because I didn't want to be paying on all that student loan debt. If you're comfortable with it, or if you're in a situation where paying for student loan debt is going to be easy for you, or a normal thing, you're normal with getting into that kind of debt and paying on it for however long, then go that route. Because yeah, you'll end up making more money in 4 years. Well, after the 4 years of officer academy, you're going to make more money than me as 4 years as an AB. But when you look at it in the end again, I've been making this money. The officer academy wasn't making any money, and now they're paying debt. I'm making money, but they're making more money than me. To me, it's still going to equal out in the end. And mattering how that officer who went through the academy, they did 4 years of the academy and then they started making these nice huge paychecks. How are they going to spend their money when, it's new? When you get new money, most of us don't know how exactly to spend it, if you know what I mean. The more we get, the more we spend. So that officer, are they really going to pay back that debt in the first 2 years of being an officer? by the time I make officer. I just don't see it. Some have, some will, but that's for you to choose. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and gals. I hope you guys and gals enjoyed this video. Hit that subscribe button, like, comment, share. Patreon link below for all the other Q&A videos, and the merch is on the website down below as well. So I'll see you guys and gals in the next one.